For some reason, 98% of both shop and home mechanics always leave this crucial part out. As a professional bike mechanic, I've stretched and bedded in tens of thousands of bike control cables over the last 40 years. I don't do it just for fun. I know from experience, brand new bike cables have to be stretched and bedded in, or you'll spend hundreds of miles unnecessarily readjusting your gears. As for the brakes, you may find they don't work well enough or at all when you need them most, just before you hit something hard. And yet, for some reason, 98% of both shop and home mechanics always leave this crucial part out, or don't do it effectively. This is the likely reason your cable-operated brakes and gears stopped working as they should shortly after the bike was brand new or the cables had just been replaced. But there are step-by-step methods to fitting both gear and brake cables all competent mechanics follow. And once you learn them, your gear indexing will go from flaky to reliable, and instead of getting wide-eyed on the brakes, you'll be able to stop before you need to. These are the same methods I use to keep my thousands of happy customers out on the road or trail instead of coming back for adjustments. Welcome to stage 15 of Tour de Bike 2024, where I'll guide you step by step through the stretching and bedding in process I use for both gear cables and brake cables. Finally, you'll have gears and brakes you can continue to have faith in. Stick around because we'll look at where all the power and modulation gets wasted in cable operated braking systems. Plus, I'll show you the type of outer cables I've been using on my mountain bike brakes for over 25 years. This solves that problem, and now it can be done on drop bar bikes too. You won't want to roll your handlebar tape just yet. You've just got to become the bike. Let's do the rear brake first, as this is where the most improvement will be gained. Start by screwing the relevant cable adjusters in all of the way. Pull the inner cable through the clamping area to take up any slack. Then tighten the cable pinch bolt up so it's pretty tight. We're just going to pull the brake lever, but we're going to pull it hard. To get right into it, use the palm of your hands and pull the lever 10, 15, 20 times. Just keep going until it feels like the lever isn't getting any closer to the bars. If the lever gets to the bars, take some slack up using the cable adjusters or pull the inner cable through further than it was. Then go back to the previous step and keep squishing until the lever feels like it isn't getting closer to the handlebars anymore. Now that's done, screw the adjuster in or out so there is about 2 to 3 turns before it would butt up to the caliper. Release the cable pinch bolt and set the tightness to your preferred biting point. Once you're happy, there is some adjustment either way to tighten or loosen the brake. Do the pinch bolt up tight enough to flatten the cable a little. Now the rear one is done, you want to do exactly the same thing to the front. Let's do the gears now. I'm going to do the rear one first because you'll want to set them up to make it easier to get the front derailleur cable tension correct. Shift down into the smallest cog at the rear. You can check the shifter is all the way down by tugging lightly on the inner cable while releasing the gears at the lever. As with the brakes, screw the adjusters right in and then pull the cable through the clamping area on the rear derailleur. Tighten the pinch bolt up so it will hold the cable under load, but not as tight as it would be if you went out for a final ride. Take hold of the rear derailleur and make sure you are supporting the jockey cage up near its pivot bolt. As you can see, I'm holding my thumb on the derailleur fixing bolt, cradling the parallelogram in my palm and using my fingers to hold the pulley cage. Now slowly shift the gear lever like you would going towards the larger sprockets and hold the derailleur so it won't move up to the next cog. Don't be too forceful and shift up slowly until you feel a good amount of resistance. It needs to be under load, but if it feels too hard to shift to another gear, stop and release the lever clicks, back down and repeat. If you go at it like a bull in a china shop, the levers can get permanently damaged. Repeat maybe a dozen or more times. You should feel the lever go up further clicks as you repeat, and then like it's not going to go any further. Once you're happy, shift the lever all the way down to the last click. Screw your adjuster out a couple of turns to enable future adjustment either way. Then undo the cable clamp bolt, pull the inner through tight and secure. Just do a quick setup of your rear gears so the front gear cable tension can be set easier once that cable is bedded in. They don't need to be perfect at this point. Do the same sort of thing with the front derailleur. Shift it into the smallest chainring and screw the adjusters all the way in. Pull the inner through to take up any slack and secure pretty tight. Hold the derailleur so it can't move out too much and just start shifting the lever like you're trying to get into the big chainring. Again, don't be too forceful. I hold it where the pivots are on the main body and outer plate. Do the upshifts and release all the way down maybe 10 or 15 times until it feels like you're not gaining any more stretch or bed in. I always do this before I roll the handlebars when I'm building a new bike or I've had to change the cables. More importantly, I always do it before I strap the cables to the bars. One of the things that makes cables flex a lot is not actually being taped to the bars properly. To cut costs, the manufacturers often just use a small amount of cheap tape to hold the control cables to the handlebars without bedding the cables in. This allows the cables to flex more and at the same time hinders the ability for the mechanic who did the final assembly to ever bed them in properly. You can't rely on your handlebar tape to keep the cables in place and rigid. That's why the best order of service is fit the cables, stretch and bed them in, and then strap the cables to the handlebars tightly with insulation tape. For best results, I do it pretty close to the lever, somewhere in the middle of the curve of the handlebars, and as close as possible to where the handlebar tape roll will finish. Let me show you how using more suitable outer cables for your brakes will massively improve their operation. Take away the cable flex and compression and get light lever action with this cheap, effective upgrade. Before I do, a quick reminder, this is stage 15 of a 21-stage tour around any new bike showing shortcuts taken at production and final assembly to cut costs. If you haven't already checked out the previous stages, take a look to see what else needs attention on your bike before it's too late. In stage 16 of Tour de Bike 2024, we'll be visiting both the wheel and the tyre areas. I'm going to show you why the manufacturers and shop mechanics aren't even obliged to make the wheels on a new bike as straight as they should be, and why the tyres on a new bike often aren't suitable for the owner, and how to upgrade cheaply or maybe even for free. There are two different types of outer cable fitted to modern bikes. The gears use an outer cable with steel strands running lengthways from end to end underneath this plastic coating. These cables also have a plastic liner inside to allow the cable to move more freely. This is called longitudinal or linear cable and is made to reduce the outer cable flex when making gear shifts. It is the only reason we can all enjoy mechanical indexed shifting. Standard brake cable housing uses a spiraled or helical type casing underneath the plastic coating. The main difference between the two is helical housing flexes and compresses a lot more than linear outer when pressure is applied. That's power from the lever not being transferred to the caliper. The bike has Shimano Duro brake levers, calipers and cables. Look at the same bike now. I've fitted high grade linear gear outer cable. When the brakes are applied with a similar amount of pressure, hardly any movement at all. Not only is it sending more power to the caliper, it also makes the lever have a much lighter action. Now you may have heard of compressionless cables recently, wondering what they are. It's a marketing name for 5mm gear outer cable. One fits to the brakes instead of traditional spiraled outer. It is just thicker with a bigger inner bore than standard outer diameter gear cable at 4mm. This means it can easily take the thicker 1.6mm brake inner cables. As I said earlier, I've been using linear gear outers on my mountain bike brakes for over 25 years. The good quality 5mm gear housings are very stiff, which is why it's the best stuff for elevating your indexing. The problem is, it's not ideal for the sharp radius of drop handlebars. Given the extra force required for brakes over gears, this could cause some problems down the line. The linear cables need to have a metal ferrule on the end to stop the housing flaring. I've seen kits from TRP fitted to drop handlebar bikes like the one we have here. This kit uses a piece of traditional spiraled outer cable to run around the curve of the bar from the lever. It connects to the linear outer housing along the straight part of the bar, and there you have it, compressionless brake cables on drop bars to ensure excellent stopping power in all conditions. That got me thinking, I must be able to get an extra bit of yeehaw out of the brakes by making my own custom system for each set of bars. If I could shorten the coiled cable section to join the linear cable right where the bars straighten out, the brakes would be even more positive. And here it is on the Durace rim brake setup from earlier. Less brake powder equals better brakes. I'll put some links in the description for the fittings you may need. Remember, if you're going to try this upgrade, you must use a manufacturer's kit or 5mm Shimano gear outer housing like I have. The 4mm gear outer cable just isn't up to the job. In my opinion, it's not even good enough to use as gear cable. I dive deep into the benefits of using better gear cables in my video, How to Install Bike Gear Cables. Let me know in the comments if you'd like a video of my full process of fitting brake cables to a drop bar bike and how to get the best results. Getting the cables stretched and bedded in properly is the foundation of excellent gear shifts and brakes that will stop on a dime. To finish the jobs off and make your bike look as good as it works, you need to roll the handlebar tape properly. And if you haven't already seen my other great foundation tips for setting your gears and brakes up, only a small part of this job has been done. They can be found in stages 8 through to 14 of the Tour de Bike 2024 playlist. Click the video at the end to get your handlebar tape nice and tight and looking great, or the playlist for the other videos on the foundations of excellent gear and brake setup. My name's Ashley Malcolm, and I can't wait to see you in stage 16 of Tour de Bike 2024. Until then, thanks and take care.